share with friends. Why is this happening? Right post.
There's too many cameras in here. I just saw me.
And I'm about to add 2 more.
You're fine. Trash Pandas live with
I'm looking at Dave's screen.
the Epstein.
The Mulligan episode.
Dave, I sincerely love you for letting us redo this.
I know,
shit.
right?
I seriously, I know how busy you are, so I just have to say I really appreciate your
All right.
allowance.
I'm
to me being a fucking moron.
See, now I'm just like how did you tell her I was a dom? Like, why is she so
And with that, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Trash Pandas. And this is a really interesting episode for us because we are going to be doing the Epstein documentary, Filthy Rich, the Epstein story. So I am Lauren, and this is my beautiful co-host,
Lindsay.
And we are here to talk to you
So
about
you guys have
some
been doing this show for how long now?
It's been a minute.
Has it been 6 months?
No, it hasn't been 6 months. It's
We
published
So I want to say you're
for-
16 episodes in?
Yeah, are we?
And this is your first one in studio.
Yes.
That
yes.
is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have been doing it via Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom
Yeah.
calls until now. And
Like,
this
who
is
knew? Who knew that Rex and Effect was right? That all I want to do is room a zoom, zoom a zoom, and a boom boom.
That is so true. That is
Yeah.
the truest thing I've ever heard, actually, just so you guys are aware.
Damn, Dave, have you been thinking about that setup for a long time? Because that was perfect.
Yeah, I know.
No, my brain that's just how my brain works. I've given up apologizing for it anymore. It's just how that goes. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Zoom, zoom, zoom,
And you
boom,
boom,
boom.
Now shake your rump. Okay, so
Amazing.
really quickly, I'm going to give a little bit of a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about Epstein, which includes some pretty serious topics. And if you have any issues with that, just skip this episode and come back to us when we're talking about 90 Day Fiancé again.
When we're
next
talking
week.
about serious, it would be like sexual assault and sexual assault of
Yes.
minors.
So definitely skip it if
Speaking
that's
of which,
not your bag.
I guess just from a point of reality, so they actually started filing the charges against Ghislaine today.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the entire foundation of the charges is that she was grooming, that she was basically Epstein's groomer for all of these girls and all that kind of stuff, and they're laying down a lot of charges.
Yeah,
As they
honestly,
should, though.
Yeah, and honestly, I couldn't believe watching it, because when this documentary came out, they were only talking about charges against Epstein, and my whole thing was like, well, what about Ghislaine?
Yeah.
What about Ghislaine?
Well, so and that's the funny thing. I mean, so like in context, so Filthy Rich was actually based on the book by James Patterson,
Mhm.
who's an author that people may or may not know. He's written a lot of
He was in
phenomenal
Palm
novels.
Springs with him.
Palm Beach. Yes.
Oh, sorry,
Palm
Palm
Beach.
Beach.
But he was like he lived like 2 houses down.
Yeah.
And so like saw a lot of the weirdness that was going on.
Mhm.
And so when he wrote the book, I believe the book was written in 2017. And so the book was written when people hadn't really heard about her yet. And so his focus was more on everything that Epstein himself had done and what was going on and what he learned from, the police departments and the FBI folks and the sources that he had. So it was absolutely more. So I think that's why the documentary really focused more on him. Not that she got a free pass in the documentary, because she was absolutely mentioned.
Right.
In fact, I believe like they've now updated episode 4 at the end of it to like, I was surprised. Like I guess I should have realized like how quickly they could do that stuff.
Right.
But they updated the end of episode 4 like 3 days after she was arrested.
Oh, really?
With like a black screen with some white lettering that's like, hey, she's been arrested, hiding out in New Hampshire, which is so funny because like I totally know where she was.
Right.
I grew up in New Hampshire.
Oh,
And dude, the entire state still has one.
I'm like, what?
No, the entire state still has one area code. It's not that big of a it's not that huge. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
No, that's definitely interesting. But like as we were watching, even everything that we saw in the documentary, I was like, why is she not being prosecuted just because she was grooming them?
Absolutely.
And it was very obvious that she had a huge hand in what was happening.
Or both hands.
Both, right. The massage hand.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. All right.
So
So let's start with episode 1.
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
Which I've just like, so this is the setup episode.
Yeah.
Like this is the one that like basically lays down the foundation of everything you're going to see in the next 3 episodes. The most important part of this, which is still crazy to me, is so this whole unraveling of Epstein's life started because of a 2003 Vanity Fair piece, which was supposed to be he was supposed to be the man about town. He was like, they were comparing him to the Great Gatsby.
Oh my God, which pisses me the fuck off.
Yep.
Like
every time we talk about this, she's always
upset.
like, no.
I'm like,
Oh yeah, she got.
Gatsby was not a pedophile. Like I'm serious, like because I love the guy. I have like I have a sincere connection to that novel, and I'm like, okay, yes, he was mysterious in many ways, like Gatsby was. But Gatsby had such good intentions,
right?
And
whereas
he doesn't.
Clearly Epstein did
right.
Right. So like that, and that was the whole thing. Is so the editor, like you meet the interview, you meet the person that's actually writing the story, and she's like, yeah, the editor's like, hey, we literally know nothing about this guy other than he's super rich. He's got this
man about town.
Oh, and I love that. Oh yeah, he lives in a townhouse. It's a $70 million town quote. I wish air quotes townhouse. That he's got. And it's but and he does this thing, and it opens with I love
this is my favorite.
I love the depositions.
I think this was such a powerful way to open the documentary because he's just pleading the fifth, pleading the fifth over everything that they're asking.
Well, no, but let's be clear. Like, so he tries to kind of power play it, like even in the situation he's in, because he always says, I would love to answer that question, but my lawyers say
I've been advised
I have to plead the 5th and 14th and yet amendments.
And that's definitely exactly what you're saying. It's a power play.
Yep.
It's like him being
he
like,
wants to
I would love
Yeah.
to tell you,
Yeah.
but I'm not allowed
But
to.
my stupid lawyers
Yeah,
say
my
I can't.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But what
$1 million lawyer.
But what I love about this is when people they invoke their Fifth Amendment right, immediately me as a person is going, well, then you're guilty.
Right.
So and even like it even tries to play that card.
Yeah.
He's like, well, the Supreme Court just ruled that the Fifth Amendment is actually there to protect the innocent. Okay, maybe, but not in your case, Skippy.
Yeah.
Like let's be clear.
Let's look at all those charges.
Yeah,
This
so-
doesn't apply to you.
Yeah, so they burn
Right.
through that initial deposition, and then we see Ghislaine Maxwell for the first time, and they talk about how so Epstein is this basically nerd who's made a shit ton of money through less than ethical means, but so he's got all the money, but he has no friends. So Ghislaine Maxwell is somebody who's a socialite. Her dad was Robert Maxwell, who owned the UK, the Sun in the UK, also died of mysterious circumstances, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But so like she's his connector, which kind of feeds into the whole she's his groomer for all of this stuff that goes on. And so like and the first story that they really get into is it's Maria Farmer, who is an art student at the the New York University of Arts, and she tells this whole story about how part of their curriculum is at the end of it they do a show. They have a showing and it's a thing, and she's ecstatic because she has 3 pieces entered into it, and somebody comes through and buys them for like 12 grand a piece. But then I forget her first name.
Eileen
Guggenheim. I was gonna say,
Guggenheim.
yeah.
Eileen Guggenheim.
Comes along and says, "Oh, but here's the deal. Yeah, adorable that you already have them sold, but you can't sell them to those people. You have to sell them to these two people." And she introduces them to Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, because they're huge benefactors of the Academy. And oh, by the way, you're not selling them for $12,000 a piece. You're going to give them a discount.
I think she sells them for like $4 grand to like $6 grand. It's like more than half off.
Yeah, it's more than the friends and family plan. Like,
That's
it's the discount.
insane.
That's it's
friends and family.
And you just like know right off the rip that that is something that was done for a reason. And like you said, like he was a huge benefactor for them. So it makes sense that she would want to like push that. And then I think that right after that, she starts talking about her sisters that she has like photos of.
Well, so the first thing they say is, she says, "Oh," and Epstein kind of jokes with her that says, "Oh, haha, I know we're getting a discount, but we'll make it up to you.
Right.
Like it'll all work out in the end for you."
Right.
And then they do. Then they fast forward to her younger sister. Where because like apparently there's this whole situation and scene where like they're basically grooming Maria, and they're like, "Oh, well, tell us about your family." And she mentioned she has a younger sister who and she wants to get into this and she wants to get into that.
Yeah, she wants to work in the Ivy League, and she like wants to go. Where was it? Spain or something? I can't remember where.
Thailand.
Thailand.
Yeah. Well, what Jeffrey suggested to her, what would be really good for your career is to go abroad.
Yeah.
And so I will pay for you to go abroad.
And so you should totally come to my house in New Mexico.
Right. So he's setting her up with, I have all these networking connections. I have all this money. I have all this.
I'm willing to help you.
And
I
will help you. Right.
And that's the thing is a lot of these girls that he's taking advantage of are living in poverty.
Yep.
Or they have
that
like
comes
rough
super into play when they start talking about the whole Palm Beach thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't come into play until a bit later.
Yep.
But
we just know that
that is
gonna
something that absolutely. And I think it's worth mentioning Vicky War is the investigative journalist for Vanity Fair, and she's the one that kind of breaks into this and finds out.
Well, because what happens is as she starts asking people around, like the reason they found Maria was somebody that she's talking to says, "Hey, if you're digging into Jeffrey Epstein, I got a friend who had a less than cool experience with him.
Yeah.
Why don't you go get her story?"
But Maria had gone to the FBI saying,
well, so keep in mind,
not until after she found out stuff about her
sister.
So
this interview, so the interview with the Vanity Fair with Evan is like, this is 2003.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the thing. Like, one thing to keep in mind when you're watching the story is they do time jump a lot.
They do.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
and so because like the whole like that. So 2003 was when the interview happened. The whole thing that happened with Maria and her sister was back in 1996.
Exactly.
Or actually 1995. So, there's a situation that goes on with the sister in the house in New Mexico. And this is the first time we hear the massage angle where, they hey, we're going to go give Jeff a massage. And then suddenly everybody's naked.
And they report it almost immediately.
Well, and then the other thing that happens is Maria gets, Epstein kind of like dangles the carrot of, hey, you're going to go hang out at Les Wexner's house. And for those unfamiliar with Les Wexner, he's the guy that owns Victoria's Secret. He owns The Limited. He owns many, many things. And set her up as an artist in residence there.
Right.
So Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell show up there. And then very similar things happen. Like, hey, we're going to go give Jeff wants you to rub his feet. And it's funny, like even, I mean, not funny, haha, more the milk smells funny. But even years later, you can still just see that visceral reaction on her face.
Yeah.
She's like, I knew that something was going to go sideways.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so they basically rape her at the house in Ohio. And so she reaches out to her sister, her younger sister, who just says, I don't want to talk about it at that point. But they finally talk it out. And so, and this is one of those things that just keeps hammering the point home over and over and over again. So in 1996, they go to the NYPD. Because they both wind up back in New York.
Yep.
And the NYPD go, and rightfully so. You can't blame them for this.
Is out of my
The
jurisdiction.
NYPD says dude, that happened in Ohio and
Yep.
New Mexico. There's not a
Yep.
damn thing we can do about
Right.
this. So they go to the FBI and they file a report and they name all the names and they do all the things. Nothing happens.
No, nothing happens.
And I think that's like the scariest part about the entire thing is that like nothing happens.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
absolutely.
if something had happened, then maybe a whole bunch of girls
could have been saved
from this experience.
And
quite literally hundreds.
And
yeah.
Right.
And also in the same episode, this was brought like in this first episode, and it gets more into that, but after Vanity Fair finds this all out, they have to go check
they have to do the fact check. Yep.
They have to fact check with Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein basically says, well, these women were infatuated with me. They wanted these relationships that I wasn't
And they believe
able to have. Well, and I don't think that they necessarily believed him, but he threatened them. And he told the journalist, Vicky War, who was reporting on the story, she was pregnant at the time. He said, I know every single doctor, and I will have a witch doctor put a curse on
and
you
made
and your
it
baby.
painfully clear that no matter where she was, something would happen.
And
to her.
then
someone ended up finding
the editor-in-chief of Vanity Fair, I forget his name, I didn't write it down, but he found a severed cat head in his garden, and
a bullet on his front porch,
a bullet on his front porch. So that's
fucking wild.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Just know that's fucking wild.
That is fucking wild. And so what ended up happening was, after the girls decided to tell their story to Vanity Fair ran it without any of that. Without
they pulled that entire part of the story.
They pulled all of it.
Right.
And the journalist, Vicky War, was like pissed off about it. But the editor-in-chief stood by what he did.
Oh, and that's why I love. So at the end of every episode, there's always the disclosures and disclaimers.
Yeah.
And so they had the one from the editor who was like, hey, we couldn't find corroborating sources. We could have gotten sued. We could have just like, hey, here's the fake wall of bullshit that we're going to go ahead and put up around ourselves to make us look not as
guilty as we are.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, that is absolutely terrifying. Imagine waking up and seeing a severed cat head in your backyard. I mean, you can't necessarily blame the guy. I mean, yeah, okay, stand up to what is wrong. But at the same time, you're like, okay, my family is at stake, and this is terrifying. So
it's not something that you go into being like, oh yeah, so what if they are doing this?
Right.
So what if they're doing that? Like, I can like get through this.
These are real crazy threats.
If you are being threatened like this, I would be concerned for my family, my friends.
Yes, this
people
is
around
like
me, my
fucking
neighbors.
Godfather, Goodfellas bullshit.
Right. Where's
like
the
Godfather,
head?
the horse head? Like
where's the
in my
fucking horse
sheets.
head?
Like, this is terrifying. Like, he's gonna kill me next because I am choosing to publish a true story against you.
Yeah.
And like you don't go to these lengths unless you're trying to cover something up.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I completely agree with that.
You don't.
Okay, so then we go into episode 2.
Well, there's more that happens in
episode 1.
Episode 1.
Well, go ahead. Let's go over it.
Okay. So, sorry, hold on. Let me look at my notes real quick. Okay, so we find out about Palm Beach, and we find out that Trump said something very interesting here when because he has ties to Florida. And so he said, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side."
What a terrible fucking, wasn't that like in a magazine or something? Wasn't
Yes,
that like
yes,
like
it
printed
was.
somewhere?
Like it was printed and it
Like,
was never redacted.
guy.
Like he literally said this, and that's what
Jesus.
happened. So, Michael Ryder, the chief of police in Palm Beach, he starts kind of like looking into this guy because people in Palm Beach start saying like, okay, there are these young girls that keep going in and out of Jeffrey Epstein's house. I think it's fucking weird. Like, let's look
into this
like,
and find
right,
out
like
what's going
let's
on.
right, like let's at least
Yeah,
look
God
into
bless
it.
that police chief. For
Yeah,
real.
Michael,
Like that's
Michael Ryder. Yeah. And so when he starts looking into what's happening over at Jeffrey Epstein's house, Jeffrey Epstein makes $1 million donation.
No, 100,000.
100,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
100,000.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was wrong.
Yes,
Sorry.
it's
I wrote
100,000.
makes $1 million
Well,
donation.
no, yeah, and he actually didn't donate $100,000 per se.
Yeah.
It was equipment.
He donated $100,000 of equipment, so probably like
Oh,
cars,
okay.
that kind of stuff, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So he's already trying to buy off the police.
Yep, he's
in
bribing
Palm
them.
Oh, of course. Why?
Beach.
Duh.
Because what the journalist Vicky Warr said was like it got even deeper in Palm Beach. Like even more mess up shit was happening in Palm
Well, yeah.
Beach.
So and this is one of those time jumps where so
Yeah.
now we're flashing forward to 2005.
Right.
And it's
Yep.
it's a phone call from a mom
Yeah.
who's like, "Hey,
This is
I found $300 on my daughter, and she won't
Yep.
like she wouldn't explain to me where it came from."
Yeah.
And then she finally breaks down and tells me she goes to some guy's house to give him massages,
Yes.
and that's where this cash is coming from. And oh, by the
Yeah.
way, she's 14.
And also, she even says, like, oh, he flips over and...
Yeah, so this is where we meet Haley Frick, who was like the first one that apparently a lot of people had a problem with based on some of the reactions, because they get into the whole, like, she recruited a lot of girls for this. But...
You can't, like, she was a child too.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I can't be upset with her.
You cannot.
Because, you know, at the end of the day, I think she says that she recruited like 25 to 30 girls or something. And even then, it's like she was doing what she thought she needed to do.
Well, and this kind of gets back to your point from earlier, where, like, you know, they get into the background of these girls because it's Haley, it's Michelle Licata, and it's Shanna Rivera, and they're talking through, you know, and they all basically have the same exact story. They're broken homes. Two of the three were homeless for large stretches of time, and so when one of their quote unquote friends from the school that they were in, because literally the 8th grade, tells them, "Hey, come with me and you can make $200."
Who wouldn't do that?
Right.
You were in that kind of
and I can
situation.
imagine how, like, I look at myself in 8th grade and how impressionable I was. And even today we were like, if someone offered you $200, like,
at this point,
I mean,
I am broke.
At this point, I am a broke ass bitch. Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's right, but that is a juicy carrot. That they dangle in front of you.
Make you consider something that you wouldn't normally
absolutely, absolutely, 100%.
And these girls are coming from areas and homes that.
Oh, and that's one of the things they stress.
$200 to them is a lot of money.
West Palm Beach,
yes,
not the same as Palm Beach.
Exactly.
Yes.
So West Palm Beach, essentially like an island in and of itself, and completely isolated. All these houses have like 20-foot high privacy hedges and you know, secured gates and all that shit.
Kids are going to like super uber fancy private schools.
Whereas Palm Beach, it's a lot of trailer parks. It's a lot of, you know, I mean, it's a there's a huge economical.
He knew exactly who he was.
I don't think anyone's ever.
targeting.
No one ever accused Epstein of being stupid. Not, like, yeah,
Right.
not,
Right.
yeah.
Right. He knew exactly how and what he was doing 1000%. So the next thing that I have is the victim, Michelle Akata.
Yep.
And so her friend introduced her to make money for Christmas. She was 16 years old at the time. And her friend was basically like, hey,
Oh, see, I thought she was one of the ones that was 14, and she looks.
oh, was it? I wrote
Dude, she
16.
looks every bit of like she's like there's no.
Yeah.
She looked 18.
Some of
there
these
was
girls
no.
have very, very like slender bodies and stuff, and they don't have any curves whatsoever.
No,
Right.
like and like, dude, Epstein. If you're into 10-year-old boys, then just admit you're into
Yeah, just say
10-year-old.
that.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
I don't think that's what he was into.
No,
I
'cause,
mean,
yeah.
I definitely don't. And like, I mean, I hate to give him like any kind of like, you weren't that disgusting, but he was that disgusting. He liked prepubescent girl or like
Or
girls
just on-
going
just on
through
that
cusp.
puberty,
Yeah.
that he could change
Manipulate
their
and- yeah.
mind and manipulate.
Well, it goes
and
back
he
to
could,
the first episode with Maria. She had all those paintings that
Yep.
she was doing of her sisters in like
yeah.
they weren't pornographic, but they were kind of like mid.
Well, no, because she always said
They-
like
it was
she
just-
always started with a photograph.
It was definitely
Right.
voyeuristic.
and it was the secret moments, as she
Yeah.
called them.
voyeuristic.
Yeah.
But these girls
Definitely.
did have their breasts out and things
Yep.
like that. But like we said, it,
It
wasn't
meant
at
to
all
consume
meant to be that way.
in
But
that
Epstein
way.
now owns these.
He now
photos.
has
or
all these.
he has
photos.
them. He sold
right.
them,
Yes.
Yeah, he sold them.
He's-
yes. Because he's friggin' disgusting.
But yeah, so the last thing with episode 1 that's really key and important is so October of 2005, they have finally gathered enough evidence that they've got a search warrant,
Yes.
and they show up at
Yes.
his house. And that's how the episode closes, is with basically the detective standing there talking to, I don't know what the hell, the valet, whoever,
Yeah.
like with the guy that runs the house that's not Epstein,
Yeah.
and say, hey, here's our search warrant. We have
Right.
a right to search the premises. This is what we're looking for. We'll give you a list of everything that we take when we're done. And then, like I said, the last note I have, which is just typical, and then disclaimers galore roll. It's the
Exactly.
Vanity Fair editor who says, I didn't do anything wrong. It's the
Isn't
this
he
guy that I
dead?
didn't do anything wrong. No, the Vanity Fair guy's still
Oh,
alive.
he's
Yeah.
still alive.
And it's this.
Is he
we didn't do
still
anything
the
wrong.
editor of Vanity
No,
Fair?
he's-
No
Um,
Bye.
way. Yeah. Okay. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
And there's this,
Bye.
yeah. So there's this, and then this person who never admits to that. There's, this,
Right.
just disclaimer after disclaimer after disclaimer, which is whatever. Like I get you have to put that in because it's a thing.
I mean,
but
yeah. I mean, but especially since Jeffrey Epstein is so litigious, like he's out for everyone. And and he's gonna, he thinks that he is so much smarter than the law, and he's so much smarter than all
He's
these
above it.
people that are investigating him, and he just thinks that his money and his power can just he can just slide right on out of there.
Yeah.
and not deal with any of this bullshit.
So, and that's why, and it's not in this episode, but that's why I do love. There was one episode where they talked to basically the lawyer who started the class action lawsuit against him.
Oh
Right.
yeah, I love him.
And he
I
said,
like him.
oh yeah,
love
he was a
him.
great guy, and he was like basically like, yeah, like Epstein believes he's the smartest guy in the room, and believes that he is always in control of stuff. And so his approach to the depositions was, okay, what crazy shit can I throw at him just to knock him off his game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely 100%. And I love to, like, when you're looking at, if you're a true crime fan and aficionado,
Like we are.
all serial serial killers are the same way. They all think they're the smartest person in the room
Mhm.
and they want control over the situation. It is very much the same personality type.
It's like a sociopath.
It is.
It's just
I
somebody who
absolutely
is a
100%.
sociopath.
He has no regard for those women and what he did, or those girls, not women, those girls and what he did to
Women
them.
now, but back
Women
then when
now,
he
right.
was like exploiting them,
Absolutely.
they were children.
Right. And he has no regard for them and what happened to them. Okay, so are we ready to move on to episode 2?
3?
No, that was episode 1. So
One?
this will be episode 2.
Okay, 2.
I'm just I'll ask. Do you guys want to take a sec, grab a smoke? Are we good? Do you want to keep rolling? Do you need another drink? Do you
I
need?
could grab a smoke.
I mean, it's up to you.
Okay,
whatever
I
you
can
wanna
I can
do.
pause.
Okay, let's
Okay,
pause
let's
for a
pause.
second. We'll be back in just a minute. Beep break.
Peep- Peepers.
A little peeper. And let's get back
We're
into
back up.
it. Let's go.
Okay, so the next thing that I have to talk about is victim 3, which is Shauna Rivera.
Okay.
Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. So her girlfriend brought her to Epstein. She came from a completely broken childhood. She was 14 when she met him. And messages him. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Messages him. Friends say they have to take clothes off. Her friend leaves.
Oh yeah, so that was the whole thing. Yeah, that was like her friend.
Right,
Yeah, her friend, quote unquote friend.
Yeah.
Brings her there and goes, "Oh yeah, we have to get naked."
Right.
And oh, by the way,
I'm
I'm
kicking
out.
off now.
Wait,
Bye.
and wasn't she the one that like saw her parents abuse her
Yes.
stepbrother?
Yes.
Okay, so like she's from a super
Oh yeah,
bad
not just
situation.
broken, but shattered home.
Yeah, like a
Yes.
shattered home. Absolutely. And so she goes there to make money, and she ends up going back a few times.
Well, again, yeah, because I mean, it's
Right.
a couple hundred, and so and that's where they kind of get into the, okay, so he's not just paying $200 to the girls that are massaging him.
Right.
He's paying $200 to the girls that are bringing the girls.
Right,
So
right.
if you think about it, it's like each girl is getting $200 per time they come in and massage them. But if they bring a friend, they get an extra $200. So these girls are bringing sometimes upwards to 25 or even 40 girls
Mhm.
into this place. And that's assuming that each girl comes one time.
It's like the creepiest pyramid scheme ever.
Right.
Let's
It
be
is.
real.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It is a pyramid scheme. And so what's super crazy about her too, though, is that so her friend leaves her there to massage Jeffrey Epstein, which is so disgusting. And then she leaves after that, and he calls her and is like, there's a cab waiting outside. Take the cab to my house. And she just said, like, I was lured by money. Like
Right.
I had nothing. This was my way out.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
this was literally my way out.
And a lot of these girls felt that way, that it was like this was the only option they had to get out of the situation that they're in.
Yeah.
And how disgusting and terrible is that, to know that somebody can like hold that much power over you for $200 fucking dollars?
Well, so let's
Right.
well, so
Insane.
let's and that
Right.
like, so the key point of the opening of episode 2, is it starts with yet another, like every episode starts with a deposition.
Yeah.
And so Epstein's first thing he does is he gives his date of birth, which is 1/20/53.
Right.
So keep in mind, so you're talking about in 2000, let's see, 2005,
Yeah.
when this is going on. He is 52 years old
Yeah.
with 14-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
Let
is
that sink in.
Yeah.
that
yeah.
is a whole
Yeah.
other type of fucking person.
Yep. And so it's, and so it dives right in with basically the execution of the search warrant on the house.
Mhm.
And the one thing that they were really looking for was confirmation from these girls' stories that they got in spades. Like
Mhm.
everything the girls described.
Mhm.
the nude photos on the wall, the nude artwork and busts that were on the wall,
Yes.
the pink staircase that led up to the double top secret
They
probation
can
massage room.
corroborate any of these things with what these girls have been saying and them going into his
Yep.
home and seeing it.
But
They
then-
all have the same story.
But then the worst thing is that clearly somebody inside the police department has tipped him off, because all of the
Yeah.
computers and hard drives that
Have
are tied
been
into the
wiped
survival
out.
are gone.
Well, they even
Mm.
said, which was like the creepiest part to that to me, was that they said there was all of the wiring.
Oh
was
yeah,
there.
like you could see that, like the network cables were there,
Right, everything was there,
but the computer was gone. Yep.
or the hard drive was
Yep.
gone, and it's like, oh my fucking god, this dude seriously
Mm-hmm.
like went through and was like, let's just yank everything out. Didn't even try and cover up the fact that they yanked everything out.
But to add on top of that creepiness was when the police tried to even interview anybody that worked for him, they were terrified for their own lives.
Yes.
And they refused to speak about it. And most victims were scared to prosecute.
Oh, even his former employees.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
and that's what I'm talking
Where they-
about.
yeah, they
is
didn't-
their
like, they didn't wanna get
employees,
sued,
They
they
were
didn't wanna
like,
get-
I'm
yep.
not.
They said, I don't want to get
I'm
involved with
not-
this.
I don't
want
wanna
to
be
go against
involved.
Yep.
Epstein's people. And it's
right.
like, you know that this man is powerful.
Mm.
He's rich. He
Right.
has every lawyer he could possibly have
Yep.
retained
Yep.
for him.
And then the next thing that I have is they went through his trash and they found a report card and receipt to send flowers to the school.
Oh, so the one thing they did, so they found his date book,
yeah.
and so the date book with all the messages and memorandum and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
on it were just creepy as hell, especially the ones that were like everything, like all the names and stuff were redacted
Yeah.
because they all dealt with minors.
Right.
Like that.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing too, is like when we were talking about the first girl that was that had her art shown.
Yep.
And all of that, like he contacted her the next day after him and Ghislaine tried to molest her, and they were basically like,
What do you want?
what do you want?
Yeah. What do I have to do to
you
get rid
want?
of this?
And she was like, fuck
How much money
you,
will it take?
Yeah.
because you did this to my sister. So fuck you. And I'm
And he had
going
photos
to
of
the
their sister that was like 12
FBI.
years old at the time when they did.
Yeah. And
photos.
that's what really freaked them out, is they were like, what is he doing
Yep.
with the photos of my 12-year-old sister?
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
But so then we
No
have
one
another
does.
time jump, and we go back
Mhm.
to 1999.
Mhm.
And that's when we meet Virginia Giffrey for the first time, and she was the one who she, like, again, broken home, was homeless for a while, got a job at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I have her.
So yeah,
Mar-a-Lago. Let's just let that sink
Yeah.
in. Mar-a-Lago.
and she really wants to be a massage therapist, and she's basically like a changing room attendant there at the
Yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
so
Which is interesting that she wants to be a massage therapist, because that's exactly what he's looking for.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
okay, but didn't, yeah.
yep. So
yeah.
they
absolutely,
have the whole cut.
110%.
So of course, hey, Ghislaine Maxwell
Yeah.
steps in and was like, "Oh yeah, dude, we're looking for somebody that does exactly that.
Well, she
You should
saw
come back to the
her-
house."
I guess she saw her reading a book.
Mhm.
And it was something as simple and innocent as that, is that she saw her reading a book about massage therapy, and she was like, oh, hey,
I know somebody who wants a massage on their penis.
Hey. Right, exactly. Like fucking
Like,
disgusting.
directly.
But yeah, so they bring her. So Ghislaine brings her back to Epstein's house, where, of course, it turns into not just a massage, but oral sex and then sex. And they call her the next day, or Ghislaine calls her the next day and says, "Hey, your interview went really well. Yeah, we'd like you to
What
come
the
back."
fuck?
Red flag number 55,000.
87, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so she wanted to be a masseuse, but she also talks about that she had a really hard past. Like she was also
Again, broken home, homeless,
broken home, horrible past. So
Right.
it was like they knew exactly who
Oh,
they
for
were
sure.
looking for, and they assaulted her upon the first meeting. And they made her a bunch of promises to get out of her current life. So they were like, oh, we can take you to
Well, they
these
took her on
places,
vacations. They
and
like made her part of the family.
yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly right. They made her feel a part of the family.
So, and then this is the first time where we meet, where we see James Patterson, the guy that actually wrote the book,
Yeah.
that this is all based on, who then he dives into Epstein's history. And so, and Epstein's history is totally bizarre. Like when you get into it, like, so he goes to college for 1 year and drops out. He grew up on Coney Island. Like he came from a very like working class background. Like he wasn't born into wealth and power and all that
Right.
stuff. So he drops out of college, and yet somehow still manages to bullshit his way into a job as a college professor.
And that's the
And
only
people don't
way
ever
he's
check for
like
this shit, though.
Gatsby. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just
That's
wanna
the
say,
only way
though,
he's like Gatsby.
like in reality, like every place I've ever worked at, every place that I've ever put
I
in
know,
the application
right?
at,
Like I'm a
they
teacher,
literally
and
check
they
everything.
right. They
And I'm like,
background
how
check
So
is
and I can
it?
so we've run a networking group in the area here since forever now, for IT and the D. We've done that forever. And one of the things we always tell people is why networking is so important is that networking will get you past the gaps that your resume might not have
Right.
that the job wants. Like,
Yeah,
because
you're
it's not what
absolutely
you know,
right.
it's who you know. And so he did. He totally, and it was a friend of a friend, and yada yada, and that's how he BS'd his way into this role. The sad part is like it's because of that job that he gets the job at Bear Stearns. And
Yes.
so that's where he gets hooked into Les Maxwell. He gets hooked into all of these super wealthy, super influential people,
Networks.
and starts just making a shit ton of money. And like
what I loved is I didn't write down, but the guy that they interviewed who hired
the
him
former
at,
CEO, yeah.
at Bear Stearns.
Oh, wait,
was
I take it
like-
back. He was the CIO because Epstein started dating the CEO's daughter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
oh my
right.
God, I forgot about
Oh
that.
yeah, that's right.
And so the CIO called the CEO up and said,
Yes.
"Hey, just found out he lied on his resume.
What do we
He
do
dropped
with
out of
it?"
college.
Yes.
What do
Yeah.
we do?" And the CEO was like, "Well, treat him like you would anyone else. Don't give him any special treatment."
Gross.
And then he gets into this whole he basically Epstein charmed the shit out of him.
Yeah. Well, that's what he said
disgusting.
is that he dealt with unpredictability in an aggressive fashion. So he was very good on his feet.
Yep.
He was
Good liar,
able-
basically.
Right. He was a good
Well,
liar.
no, I mean
and he was he was just very quick.
Yeah, to me that means he was quick on his feet.
Right.
Like
he was
he was
quick on
very
his feet.
mentally agile. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
nobody's ever accused Epstein of being stupid.
Right.
And so it's like I mean, and great. Like so that's the thing. I mean, for people that overperform like that, you do tend to overlook things.
Yeah.
But he does say the CIO basically says my biggest regret
I know this
is giving him a
crazy.
second chance.
Yes.
And not just firing him.
Yes.
Because that Bear Stearns position then turns into
that
everything that he does moving forward.
That is I think that's one of the craziest lines of those episodes is him just admitting like I fucked up.
And he basically says if I hadn't made that decision,
that's
the world would have never heard of Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
Like it's like all the evil that he unleashed comes back to that moment where they sit down for that meeting and Epstein says, "Well, I really wanted to tell you because I don't want you guys to think bad of me.
Yeah.
I always wanted to come clean about it, but I was worried what would happen."
Yeah.
And he fell for it. Like, and everybody says Epstein's a charmer. He's that guy.
But like we said before, it's like that's very serial killer. It's
Very.
very much
very
serial
sociopath.
killer.
Yeah.
It's
Sociopath. Narcissistic. It's
Talking about
all
yourself
of
like
those
you're
qualities.
amazing.
Yep.
Yep.
And he knew he was pulling the blinders on all
Oh, yeah.
those
Of course.
people. Like
You
he
couldn't
knew.
not. I mean, I get I get imposter syndrome, even knowing exactly
Yeah.
what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Going in for an interview
We talk
with
about
something
this
that
all
I
the
have
time.
done a million times before, I get imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And this motherfucker walks in and he goes, I've never done this before, but I'm going to act like I have.
I mean,
And
he-
I
it's
mean-
the job.
I mean,
you know?
we all
he-
understand fake it till you make it. Let's be
Fake it
real.
till you make it.
And
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
always say that, and I mean it in like the most harmless way. But like for
Here's
him,
the extreme.
right? Exactly. Like he literally did not have a college degree.
Right.
Like
Oh yeah, he should not have been a
was-
professor. He
no,
should not have been.
No, he was the worst
Yeah.
of the. Like he pulled the blinders on
Everybody
He faked it till he made it till he
made it again.
made it, and he was hanging in a jail cell.
So
Like I
then-
mean, that's literally crazy.
So then we time jump again, and we go back to 2006.
Yeah.
And we're back with the police chief, Ryder, who at this point now has 40 victims identified, and he's got 5 willing to testify.
Are we talking about Barry Krishner, state
Uh,
attorney for Palm Beach?
oh, we're not there yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
no, we're
I'm
almost
sorry.
there.
Okay.
And this is when he goes. So he brings the case to Krishner, the state's
Mhm.
attorney, who says, "Dude, this is a slam dunk. Like we're gonna bury
Yep.
this guy
Right.
under the jail.
Done.
Like this
Right.
is
Done and done.
you've done such a great job accumulating all this evidence against
Right.
him. He done.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a done deal. We're
Done.
already going to do
And wait,
it and be done with
wait,
it.
Dave, can you just remind us what year was this?
So 2006.
Two
Let's follow the timeline.
2006.
Yeah.
First FBI report, 1996. Now we're at Palm Beach going to the Florida State Attorney,
literally
2006,
a decade
10 years later.
Right. And if we think about what happens to him.
Yeah, but wait, there's more.
But
wait,
wait,
there's
there's
more.
more. Exactly.
So-
Stay tuned.
Oh yeah. So Epstein puts together like basically a legal dream team. Like he gets Ken Starr, who's the guy that was the lead prosecutor on the Clinton impeachment. He gets Alan Dershowitz, who was
Fucking Alan Dershowitz
you know,
is a piece of shit.
the O.J. Simpson, the O.J. Simpson defense, the Mike Tyson defense, all that stuff.
Mike Tyson defense.
Well, I mean, but Tyson beat the shit out of Robin Gibbons. Let's never forget that.
Oh yeah. No, that's what
Never
I'm saying.
forget.
Is, that's what I'm saying is that's fucking bullshit.
Well, so, and that's the funny thing is like I and again, not necessarily funny, haha, more hey, this milk smells funny, is like listening to Dershowitz rationalize what he does, which is, hey, I'm a defense attorney.
Just
it is my
looking after
job.
my client.
Right. It's
No
we
matter
don't
what
ask
he
if it's the right thing to do
does.
morally. It's the
Right.
right thing to do
Do
for our
it.
client.
Right. He has
Right.
no problem like looking over those ethical
Oh, yeah.
disgustingness.
And so shit gets really weird because, well, the defense team starts hiring investigators to investigate the police. They start hiring all these private investigators to follow the
Yes.
cops around,
yes.
to follow the victims around,
Yes.
to follow like all these people around.
Yes.
And the one Dershowitz, yeah, they weren't. He said they weren't necessarily attacking the victims. They were just trying to justify. They were trying to
Weren't
establish their credibility.
necessarily-
Yeah. And I also
whether they were credible witnesses. or
I
not.
also wrote suddenly Krishner starts backing out.
Mhm.
Like it's like they all are getting that severed cat head in their backyard.
Oh yeah, so the
and
state's
they're
attorney starts backing
all-
off.
They're all
TV
starting to back off.
TV, radio, and newspaper reporters are getting phone calls going, "Hey,
Yeah.
you should stop looking into this.
Yep.
Right.
It's not good for your career
Yeah.
to be paying attention to this story." And so then in late 2006, basically the police chief goes, "Okay, state's attorney is backing off. I'm going to the FBI."
Mhm.
And go and
Mhm.
brings everything to the FBI, and the FBI goes, "Oh wait, hold on. We took one quick look and found this old complaint from 1996,
96.
10 years ago. What the
fuck?
hell?"
96. How
So
fucked?
2006, he was charged with a single felony of soliciting prostitution.
Oh, so no, not even yet. So
Oh.
so they're not even sure that they're going to make this case stick, and so this is where this is where the lawyer comes in and starts filing all the civil suits.
Okay.
And again, God bless this guy because he's the one that actually made this kind of stuff happen. So he starts filing the civil suits on behalf of, Courtney Wild, who's the one that was recruited the summer after her 8th grade. And she's the one that says, yeah, she did it for 3 to 4 years. She probably recruited 40 to 60 girls at $200 a pop. And then they dive back into the backstory and history with Ghislaine Maxwell more. So, they talk about, the whole thing with, her father, Robert, and how he died under super suspicious circumstances.
And what were those suspicious circumstances?
So he was on a boat, and then he was dead off the boat. So there are stories, like the official story is that he committed suicide.
Was he alone on this boat?
Allegedly.
And backing up even more, he was like running a newspaper, and there were people.
Oh yeah, he ran the Sun.
He ran the Sun, and so people had it out for him.
Oh yeah, so there's
for whatever he was putting
all the
out
conspiracy
there.
theories, like
Right.
it could have been assassins that took him out. It could have been whatever.
It's like Natalie Wood, like. You know what I mean?
Say,
like
Natalie
it's
Wood,
like it's like one of those things
here
where
you
it's
go,
like
off the side of a boat.
Yep.
Right.
We don't know, but
like
it
people
was probably on
people
purpose.
had their reasons to want him dead, but
Also,
right,
he had
exactly,
his own reason to want
exactly.
himself.
Oh yeah. So so her
Exactly.
dad dies and she moves to New York City, and she winds up running into
and
Epstein.
she was a daddy's girl.
Oh, absolutely. And so they, she runs into Epstein, and basically they said, they were like just the match made in hell because, because he's the one with all the money and influence and power, but she's the one with all the connections
Right.
because of her socialite life. And so that's where all this stuff goes to crap. And then they jump back into the guy that wound up running a Ponzi scheme. So Epstein learns like he's got to leave Bear Stearns. Like, so there's enough shit going down that it's time for him to leave. And again, they go back to the CIO guy who's like, I just kind of wanted him out. So I told him, hey, here's this kid you might want to take a look at for this thing you're doing. And the quote was, he's loaded with energy, but his moral compass is upside down.
I can think of somebody else that's like that.
Donald Trump.
Right. So Stephen Hoffenberg was his name, and he basically ran a $460 million Ponzi scheme, like made $460 million fleecing people, and got 20 years in jail. Epstein never gets charged, even though the way this story gets laid out, Epstein's the one that actually made all this shit happen.
He's actually at the top of the pyramid.
Oh yeah, he's the one that actually made all this shit happen and enabled all this shit to happen. But Epstein apparently at some point in time tells this guy, oh yeah, I'm already a state's witness and I'm totally flipped on you and I'm testifying everything against you. When that wasn't true.
Right. That's what's so fucking crazy.
But the guy believed him. Yeah.
Well, not only did the guy believe him, but like, okay, so his lawyers didn't look into that fucking bullshit.
And so he took 20 years.
He literally just bullshitted his way out of that, and no lawyers looked into it. Like, that is fucking nuts.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, that's a fucking nuts.
Oh yeah. Well, so
seriously.
And then they dive into here's where we get into where Epstein has the vast majority of his money come from, because now we're diving back into the Les Wexner story.
Oh my God! Wait. Les Wexner and him, they apparently had like a gay affair, right?
So based on what everyone believes. Yes.
Les Wexner was
based on what anyone has ever admitted. No.
Les Wexner was apparently like obsessed with him.
But let's look at the facts. So, Epstein, goes to work for him.
I hate facts.
Nope.
He very quickly gives Epstein power of attorney over his stuff.
That's fucked up.
Who Epstein then oversees the sale of $1.3 billion with a B dollars in stocks, of which he then embezzles $46 million, and Wexner does nothing about it.
Because Wexner is in love with him.
Yeah. And so when Wexner steps down from the limited companies, like he has this whole press conference.
And not only, just for us millennials over here, it wasn't just limited.
The limited used to be a thing. Like that was,
Well, not only that, but Abercrombie.
Oh,
He was
Abercrombie and Fitch.
He was
Victoria's
Abercrombie
Secret.
and
Well,
Fitch.
no,
He was
Victoria's Secret is the one that everybody
Is it
probably
even
knows.
Hot Topic?
Yeah.
Abercrombie?
Yeah,
Yep.
all of that. They're
Hot
all
Topic
the same. He
Pac-
owned all.
Oh,
of
yeah,
I think
and he
PacSun
basically-
might be
Yep.
part of
And he
that.
basically said, hey, the
Yes.
reason why I didn't
And
do
he-
anything about it is because I was just horribly embarrassed about the entire situation, which I can understand.
Sure, okay, I can get down with that.
I mean, I've done some dumb
But
stuff for girls.
also- But also,
dumb stuff for guys.
I mean, not
but like, and I'm
dumb
not
stuff
even
with
like,
girls.
Not
that
$46
were
million
of
dumb.
age.
Yeah, but
right,
I wasn't $46 million dumb.
Exactly right. And that's the thing is like, I don't care.
Of
I'm not like,
age.
I'm not like trying like whatever. He was in love with a guy. That's fine. But like $46 billion. Stupid.
No, he sold 46 million.
Oh, 46.
Yeah, he sold
million.
1.3 billion in stock. He embezzled 46 million.
Okay.
But I just wanna
Either
say,
way, fuck you.
But I just want to say that, like, getting down with some fucking of age women, okay. Getting down with some fucking children, not okay.
Not okay.
Yeah, don't do
Right.
that.
Right.
So then we jump to 2006. We jump back to 2006 after
Yep.
the Wexner thing, and so they've got 46 girls identified. They're all given to the FBI.
That's almost 50 fucking girls.
Yep. And we're back to another deposition. And we're back to Epstein pulling his usual, well, I would love to answer that question,
love
but
to
my
answer
attorneys
that.
are saying, whatever.
This motherfucker just
that-
like can't answer anything.
Yep.
Dude, that is the most guilty response of all time.
Well, I agree with that.
my Fifth
Right.
Amendment.
Dude, the assumption is, you
Yeah,
did it.
you're
Yeah.
guilty.
because
Yeah.
you're fucking guilty.
But
Yep.
that's the thing,
Because
though, is that if you're
weren't
doing that,
guilty-
but if you're doing that and you're going into a court with like fucking an actual like jury,
right.
you're basically saying that you're guilty to all of this.
100%.
Jury. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Like, so why
And-
would you say something like that?
But that's what because his lawyers and because he thinks that he's above that.
I know
and they
somebody-
think they're better than that.
I know somebody personally that murdered someone, and he pled what is that?
Fifth Amendment?
No, not the Fifth Amendment. He did like no contest.
Oh, a Nolo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, like just
That means you're
say you fucking
guilty.
did it. Just say you did it. Tell
that
us how you
means
did
you're
it,
guilty.
and then move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it. That's,
right.
What a terrible thing to do to these like families.
But
you
that's
know?
exactly what I thought was so powerful about how this documentary opened up is it was the deposition and he goes, I'm pleading the fifth. I'm pleading the fifth. I'm pleading the
Over and
fifth.
over and
I'm
over
pleading
again.
the fifth. I'm pleading the fifth. And as a viewer, you're looking at that and you're going, because you're guilty.
Right. You would just say that
Because
you're innocent if you're innocent.
guilty.
Yeah.
And if I was a juror,
There are people that I've seen that I'm like, for sure you're innocent. And they're like, I'll plead guilty just to get out of this bullshit. You know what I mean? And like this
or
motherfucker-
just
Yeah, I just don't wanna deal with this
make-
nonsense
right, like,
anymore.
we're
Yeah.
done. Like,
Exactly.
let's just, you'll
But
let
that
me out now
wasn't-
if I plead guilty. Okay, cool. But
Right.
that's not the case.
But
for
that
him.
clearly wasn't his point.
No, not at
And,
all.
Like he was just trying to
Control the situation.
manipulate
He absolutely
everyone
was.
around him.
Absolutely.
And he was trying to pretend like he is the smartest person in the room and like blah blah blah, all of that. Okay.
All right, so we've got more witness intimidation. This is where we're seeing the people sitting outside the victims' houses with video cameras and that kind of stuff. And so then we jump to 2007 where Alex Acosta, and here's the first time we hear this name, Alex Acosta.
Oh my god.
Alex Acosta.
Fuck Alex Acosta.
Comes out. So
Fuck
the initial,
him.
it's a 57-page indictment. Now, I don't know how familiar you're. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, legal documents can be full of bullshit. They truly can.
Yeah.
Yes.
But a 57-page indictment is significant.
Yeah.
Like, that
Absolutely.
means you have a lot of crap
There's a lot
already
against you.
known that you're kind of doomed. And then it jumps right ahead to May of 2008, where like they're talking about the evolution of this investigation and how it's going with Acosta and that kind of stuff, because he's the federal attorney for the state of Michigan, or state of Florida. And then all of a sudden, we're back to the West Palm Beach police chief, who's like, yeah, then we kind of got cut out. Like they stopped returning our phone calls. They stopped answering our questions. They stopped, giving us status updates on that kind of stuff. And then with very little fanfare and with very little anything, Acosta just kind of kills the case.
Yeah.
How upsetting. I'm not going to lie. I left this episode being like, this is fucked.
Okay, so wait, I'm so confused, Dave. So the next episode, is that the one with Barry Krishner where he said it would be an easy case upon hearing evidence from the police chief, and the next
That was the first episode.
No. I'm this is way down. So I know that it's not. But he said Epstein hired the best, and he's talking about all of those lawyers. And then the next thing he says was 2006, charged with a single felony of soliciting prostitution, and Jane Musgrave.
That gets into that's episode 3.
Okay,
Yep.
so Jane Musgrave is episode 3. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so the end of the second episode is the announcement that when the police chief finds out that Acosta has effectively killed this entire case from a federal level.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page as you. So the next episode we're going to be talking about it starts with Jane Musgrave,
which
3.
you can see right there. My notes are episode 3. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
For real though.
Like,
really want to know what the fuck.
Yep.
Okay, so are we wrapping it up then?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. Next week we will continue on with episode 3 and episode 4. We will get through Epstein, and then the following week we will be back on with our normal programming ish, because obviously 90 Day
your
Fiancé
regularly scheduled programming
ish.
Oh my god, you have the best radio voice.
No, you really do.
I'm fucking.
You'll never find.
I'm fangirling over here. He has the best radio voice.
It's my
our next episode.
Just my luck. Only through a mic I can create rap.
Exactly. I love it. Our next episode will actually be about 90 Day Fiancé, but we do have like a break going on, so we are gonna also explore possibly Real Housewives.
Wait, hold on. When are we doing episode 3 and 4?
No, next week.
Next Friday.
Okay, next Friday.
Right. We're gonna be doing that
and
next
then
week.
after
and then after that we will
we'll
continue on with 90 Day Fiancé, some of our Real Housewives, some of our other shows that we've been watching.
So wait, can we do our Epstein episodes a little bit earlier?
Actually, so next week the show before you tonight will not be in.
Okay,
because they're bi-weekly. So if you guys want to come down here earlier, we totally can.
Would you be cool with that?
We might.
Again, I don't hate being in Detroit on a Friday night.
Might.
I know, it's super cool, right? Like, I wish all of you that were hearing this could see where we are, because
they can actually.
Oh yeah, no, for what it's worth. Like we didn't talk about that. Like, because again, this is your first time in the studio.
Yeah.
Like, so you guys are in our downtown Detroit location. We are inside of the Detroit Shipping Company.
Yeah,
which
is beautiful.
Which is located in Cass Corridor.
It is such a cool vibe.
It's
such a cool vibe down here. Like,
it's a 2-story plaza that's built out of, I believe it's 42 shipping containers.
Right.
And it's just, dude, there's like 6 restaurants, there's a couple bars, there's like huge outdoor seating areas.
And what's like,
and that was the funny thing. Like I love that both of you were like, yeah, we had no idea what to expect. Like, was this going to be like some kind of tiny cramped
so
thing?
Beautiful.
No, it's like this is a good, and I hate this term, but it's a good safe space to come to.
It is.
Because it is very spread out. It is
very safe coming here.
No, it's really cool because like there's like this huge courtyard in the middle. and there's like people down below, which you guys can't see, but they're like playing like electric
Live
guitar.
music.
Oh, there's live. Yeah, there's
music.
live bands here at least
And
3 nights a
then
week.
there's like over on the sides, there's like all these cool food.
bars.
And it kind of reminds me of like food trucks set up, and it's like super cool. Like it's the
It's beautiful.
coolest.
Mhm.
It's awesome. And then we're here,
Mhm.
and there's people.
Oh, and it's hilarious. Like you guys,
showing their boobs.
like
and their
you guys
and
weren't
their
even paying
freedom.
attention, but like so like there are like pedal pub after pedal
Oh
pub
yeah,
after
yes.
pedal
we've
pub.
been seeing that.
And so like
yeah.
that's the weird thing about it here is you can get so distracted because there are windows and you can see what's going on the street. And so like there's pedal pubs that pull up and they're full of woo girls and woo boys because
Woo!
dude, pedal pubs turn middle-aged white men into woo girls. Like they just
Yeah,
do.
absolutely.
I don't understand.
Middle-aged white girls
They-
too.
Yeah, they just it's
I'm
crazy.
Here.
But it's I mean it is like I absolutely love this
Yeah,
space. Like
this-
it is so
This
much
is a
fun.
really good space.
This
Yeah.
is the coolest
I actually am
space
very
ever.
excited about being in here. Like I feel like it's very safe for us. I feel like the two of
Yeah.
us feel like this is a good connection.
Oh yeah,
I-
well,
when-
and the best part is when you're in the studio, like this is our own little quarantine. Like this is the safe space within the
when
safe
we
space.
come in though, like even just coming in, like it feels like this is like
We were
where I should
very
be at, you know what I
VIP
mean?
when we came
Absolutely.
in.
And you know
and
what,
I
as-
love that. I love I
Dave.
am so about the bouginess.
Dave, I have to tell you,
She's all about the table
I'm
service.
all about the bouginess.
as somebody who has been in Royal Oak, which I
Yeah.
love, and if you guys are ever interested in doing anything Royal Oak, please do it. It's
Fuck
amazing. It's
Royal Oak,
great.
This is amazing.
It's a great
Detroit's
location though. Like we
amazing.
seriously
Yeah.
have a great time over in Royal Oak. And then but Lindsay and I were like, we just want to get in the studio before Royal Oak even opens. And you gave this as an option, and we came here for our first time. We were scared. The first this is like the third time you've actually offered this up to us.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
were
we're
like, okay,
awful.
cool, we'll do it. And then we just kind of like dipped out or something happened or whatever.
Just the tip, no.
Just
Dave, you
But-
want to know the funniest?
But in reality, though, like when we came here, this is like a great
It is.
location.
It is.
We
It's phenomenal.
love it.
and everyone's wearing their masks. And
Everyone is doing
Oh,
their
honestly, that's one of the reasons
together.
why I love this spot is
Yeah.
I don't have to
This
worry
is
about that.
great.
Yeah, and
Because
exactly.
you can't
right.
even walk
Like,
in this building if you're not. So I don't have to be the
Yeah.
judge. I don't have to be the mask
Right.
cop
right.
because you
Right.
can't even come in here if you're not wearing one.
And that's my
Exactly.
huge thing too. Is like I'm big on the masks and
Yeah.
all of that, and like I'm not trying
Same.
to get COVID and all of that shit.
Yeah.
But you know what's so funny? I have to share this story. So my mom's 50th birthday party, we did a pedal bar, and my